Welcome to the Lighter Side Show. My name is Maitland, and I'm here today to talk to you about ley lines, earth energy lines, vortexes, and portals. And we're going to talk all about what they are, what their differences are, how to find them, and how to change them. I am trans-channeling through Jamie Butler today, and our housekeeping notes are on the Jamie Butler Medium website. You can sign up for the newsletter and you can see all the classes that are there. There is Reiki 1 and 2 coming up and 3. And there is basic and intermediate mediumship classes coming. Those are going to be online. And there is a channeling that Jamie does every month that I participate in at the Center for Love and Light. And I love seeing new faces and answering questions there. But today we're going to talk solely about the ley lines, earth energy lines, vortexes, and portals.
Woohoo!
I did it.
And no beeping today.
And this is our second time filming this.
It is.
The first time we filmed it, there was a lot of background noise.
That was an interesting day.
That was.
It seems very quiet today, so Jesse keeps knocking on wood back there, but I think we're good. What camera am I supposed to be looking at? It's so confused. It really seems like we're supposed to be looking at that one.
Well, now it's going to look.
Edit that.
I'm going to look at this one.
So, Maitland, would you tell me how you would like to... Do you want me just to start with the questions from some of our viewers, or do you want to do your own intro and then we can go into the questions? How do you want to handle that?
I think that if we start with the questions, that they'll cover what I would like to say in the intro.
Got it.
And so what's special about this episode is that we went on Facebook Live and we asked for the Lumineers to send in the questions about the topics. Mm-hmm. And we're going to rally around and go through the questions.
I see some good questions here, so I think it's gonna be good.
Yes!
Okay, so the first question is from Marcy. And Marcy asks, can you talk about near-death experience portals? Been there, but it's been a long time.
Near-death experience portals?
Mm-hmm. So if that's not something you're familiar with or believe in, then you can address that.
Near-death experience portals, in my experience, does not exist.
Okay.
Near-death experiences, they have many different layers. You don't have to be dead to have a near-death experience. You can be in a traumatic situation where your body is not in physical danger, but you're emotionally and mentally feel as if you are in danger, and that you leave and you go out of your body into other dimensional planes. You can have a near-death experience when someone you know or love crosses over and you go with them to walk them over into the light or into home or heaven, whatever you want to call it. You can have those experiences, but there's not necessarily a portal. A portal is a doorway, just like the name suggests, portal, of allowing energies from other dimensional planes to kind of come in and cross over. So humans with your three-dimensional bodies don't go through portals very well, though you do go through doorways very well. You have to do portals when you're in your energetic body. And so I think that's where she's getting the idea that if you're having a near-death experience, which would commonly be associated to an outer body experience or astral projection, that you would go through a portal.
So what would be the proper terminology for that? Like, would it be it's just a doorway?
For what?
Like if someone is actually, we have that visual of someone going to the light and they're in some kind of tunnel. I think that's what she's calling a portal. But that would be more of a doorway or a...
No,
what would the word be?
That we don't really call it a portal.
No, I know. I hear you, and I understand.
Because that's like going from...
But what do you call it?
Point A to point B in your car. but you're not really going through a doorway, but you're ending up somewhere else.
Okay.
It's like releasing a helium balloon, and it just rises up. It doesn't have to go to the door to rise up. It's just going to its natural place of being.
Got
So
it.
when you're in spirit,
It's just crossing over.
you resonate with your natural state of being. But those ghosts that stay on Earth, they have to stay very focused to stay down in it. It's like they took their balloon and they tethered it to the ground, and that's where they want to exist or live. A portal is something like, I want to go somewhere, or I am going somewhere. So I would say a portal is more addressed to going into other multidimensional planes for other beings or planets,
Okay.
or levels where it is not your soul's energy natural habitat.
So when you're referring to portals, we're not talking about humans. I mean, the humans might have that experience that goes into the next question, and we can get to it. But we're not actually ever entering into portals or coming out of portals, anything like that. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
In a human body?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Okay.
In your energetic body, if you're in an outer body experience or an astral projection experience, you can go through a portal.
Okay.
So some people do that and they end up communicating to multidimensional beings, which is what you like to call aliens, or seeing other lands, other dimensional properties. That would be going through a gateway or portal.
Got it. You ready for the next question?
I am.
Okay. So we have a question from Jen, and she wants to know, what is the energy like near a portal, and what are the effects of a portal if you live or work near them?
So I already can feel people wanting to know the difference between a portal and a vortex, because they're kind of similar.
Yes.
Portals tend to be more compact. They're more of the doorway, where on this side it'll feel like nothing, but if you cross through, it feels like something. You come back, it feels like nothing. And the energy is kind of more stagnant, kind of like a door, right? But there's a flip side to it. A vortex is not like that. A vortex can be small. It can be huge. It can go miles wide. And in a vortex, just like the word suggests, is that there is a spin. There's a movement to it. And what we find is sometimes in these movements, like if they go clockwise, which is this way, if they go clockwise, then it's more of a masculine or positive energy. And I want to remind you, Lumineers, that when I say the word positive, I'm not saying the word good. Good is the judgment. Positive is the quality of the energy. It's the characteristic of the energy. And so the clockwise is more masculine, and it can kind of empower things, like make them bigger, like a megaphone. So if you step into it and you're like, I'm feeling great and I'm wonderful, and you step into this vortex and you feel better and more, and you know it's expansion in that way. And then there's vortexes that can spin in counterclockwise, and counterclockwise is the negative and the feminine energy, which is more introspective. Again, negative does not mean bad. Bad is a judgment. Negative is the quality of the energy we're talking about.
But we're still going to use those words in this episode.
Yes, you've
Yeah.
got to separate the positive and negative as being good and bad. That's just, they're not synonymous.
So just to clear this up in my head, and I'm sure other people have this question as well. So vortexes are moving. They're moving.
They move.
Portals are stagnant.
Yeah.
Okay. Vortexes, I'm picturing stepping into and really feeling a shift.
Yes.
Portals, I see the shift. This is for me, like if your house is built on a portal, you're going to just slowly have issues with the house. It's not going to be this big feeling right away. It's a little bit more of a take the time.
You're like, who else is in my house?
Yeah.
And now I feel like nobody's here. And
But
now
if-
I feel like somebody's here.
A vortex, you're going to be like, I mean, the time that I thought that I was standing on a vortex, it was just almost just like, whoa, like energy overload, yeah.
It is amazing. The cool thing about vortexes is that portals can be in vortexes. And also vortexes, even though they have kind of like the eye, like an eye in the storm, there are other locations in vortexes that can hold smaller vortexes. So there can be a giant one. You could think about it like when you're in space and you're looking down on Earth and there's a big hurricane out in the ocean, and then you can see cloud formations kind of gathering. That's how the energy in a vortex would look like on Earth.
So that's quite a visual to see a vortex. And I'm picturing it like you're saying. You see a hurricane, you see the eye of the storm, you see the different clouds, the different portals, and that really just kind of emphasizes how a vortex can shift a place on Earth very intensely. Like it's above and beyond what we can even imagine.
I love that you're so amazed, because if you knew what your body looked like energetically, you'd be astounded. Because in looking at your body energetically, it's got 7 main vortexes, and inside those vortexes, there's like dozens of tiny vortexes, little bitty baby ones.
Vortexes
That go all into the body. And then there's all the energy lines, like the meridians and the secondary chakras. And then you have all the layers of energy that shine off of you. There's just so much happening there. The Earth, we mimic how the Earth works. The Earth has chakras and meridian lines. That's what we call the Earth energy lines. And then it has ley lines. So it's very interesting.
Do we want to get into the difference between energy Earth lines? Because the last week, I think this is the first time this has been brought up to me. I've always thought of like ley lines and other lines and vortexes and portals, but the Earth energy lines I'm kind of new to.
Well, a ley line is straight. It is absolute. There's no curve to it. It's between 2 points, and then you can think of it kind of like the axis on the Earth, the Sushumna line on the body. It's very, very straight, and it has a certain quality of energy. Just like the vortexes can have a positive energy or a negative energy, ley lines can have the same. And people are attracted to it, whether they know it or not. And when you look back through history, you can tell that on the ley line, the energetic line, the people would build religious churches, centers, synagogues.
I mean, there's Earth maps that show, Stonehenge, and then you do the straight line, and it goes all the way down to the Mayan ruins.
Yes.
Is that a ley line?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a straight ley line.
Yes.
And it connects all the high energy points on the Earth. So you kind of can think longitude and latitude. But this line, it's like an orbit of energy, which is straight, it doesn't curve, has a certain quality that people are attracted to, and they harness that energy by building Stonehenge or the Georgia guide stones, which I want to go there.
What about Stone Mountain? That's said to be like,
That's in one of them.
Yeah.
In a ley line.
So ley lines,
They're like the meridians in the human body.
I'm picturing them as not having a specific. I'm using miles here because we're in the U.S. I'm picturing them not having a certain miles going this way, but width-wise, how long are we talking that they go? So I
How
looked it up
fast
online
the
and I saw
line?
like 5 miles.
Yeah, it can
But
go.
does it go wider than that?
It can go, we're speaking miles.
Yeah.
8 miles wide in some areas, some 10.
That's
But no, they're not real.
So those of us living in Atlanta, particularly, maybe you two, I don't know how far you are, but like I'm not that far from Stone Mountain, so I'm living in a ley line.
Yes. So you're living in a ley line, in an orbit of energy that has a very specific characteristic. And the one that the Stone Mountain one is in is high vibrational to a positive. So it'll amplify kind of the stronger or the things that you focus on. So if you come in it with a lot of anger and you're in a positive amplifying ley line, it will amplify your anger. If you come in with joy, it amplifies the joy. So it just kind of heightens it. But you can think about it as being 5 miles or 10 miles wide, exactly where the orbit is of that energy is much higher, and then it kind of fizzles out to the sides.
Oh, got it. So the center point is going to be stronger.
The strongest.
And then it's going to go like a jawbreaker. I'm thinking like layers.
Yeah.
Like that. Well, this is interesting because I was having this conversation on the beach the other day, and so I'm getting that in there.
Colleen goes to the beach every day now to see
No.
a beaver.
Oh, what's that? I saw a muskrat last night,
You did.
and big turtles mating.
There's. I
It's like
didn't
my
see
own
that.
National Geographic special. I just love my nightly walks. Okay, I do. I just like, am I living in my ley line? So you have the center ley line, strong, strong, strong.
Yeah, real high.
And then as it goes, it kind of starts fading out a little bit.
Yes.
My next question would be, within ley lines, is there a higher chance of vortexes and portals within a ley line?
A higher percentage? Yes.
Because it is a ley line, rather than some point and land.
Yes.
Okay.
Because what's interesting about a ley line, Lumineers, is that orbit of energy, how it has attracted the people to build these sanctuaries and these places of communication and healing and so forth. The humans are gathering and they're putting their thought into it. They're being grateful, they're praying, they have affirmations, they come to heal, they gather, and that energy is feeding the ley line. So it's not just the earth that has to admit it, like to create it, it's also a contribution from the people who live.
So collective thoughts within a community can create a portal or vortex and or make it already bigger than it already is.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Portals
there-
or vortexes? I'm thinking I'm getting a little, because I have such this definition of my head that portals are negative.
Yeah.
We can have positive portals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because oftentimes I think like, oh, that house has a portal.
We better close it.
Well, or that we better clear it. You know, I mean, I think about where I sense portals, and I am not perfect at this at all, but where I sense portals is oftentimes where things are going wrong. The family's having issues, the house foundation is coming in, the roof is leaking, you know, there's money troubles, jobs are being lost, like that kind of thing. I often think that there's a portal there, not a vortex.
Agreed.
Okay. That's why I'm putting the word negative on it.
Because when people get into houses and they're having a hard time and they argue or they fight or things are going wrong, they don't know that all their words and their energy are creating this really big dust bunny. And if it's not cleaned or tended to, then it can make a portal.
Festering.
Yes. But it takes a lot of time to do it that way because it's not exact straight intent. It's more of a natural building of.
Sure.
Kind of like how sand dunes are made over time.
So let's briefly address if someone moves into a house or a new piece of land and they're feeling those things going on and there may be a portal, what are some things that they can do to nip that and to not feed it and to not feed themselves into creating even a bigger mess?
Well, if you are somewhere where you're feeling a portal and it's a space that you have kind of what you would say an ownership over, though there's no true ownership of anything on earth, but you have that word in your vocabulary. If it's something that you're not resonating with, you can close the portal. You can close the door. And you can do that.
We physically have that capability.
Yes.
Without hiring someone to do it,
Yes.
or we can actually go in there,
Yes.
state our boundaries, and shut that portal up.
Yes. Now, vortexes are harder to change. And so if you don't have the knowledge with it, you might want to collaborate with other people who have it. But with portals, you can.
That would make sense because a vortex would be ever changing and shifting, where a portal is just stagnant within itself. So
Yes.
Okay.
So you can close it. You can close it using your words and intent. You can use stones and crystals. You can use rituals. You can use prayer. You can use all kinds of things. But then you have to realize that once you clear or close the portal, you need to keep the energy in that space balanced and clean. And that's where some people fall short.
Because will it start?
They do the ritual and they're, oh, good, we
Yes.
can sleep tonight. And then they have a week of it being perfectly
Yeah.
fine. And then, poof, it's back. Why is it back? Well, because you stand at the doorway and argue with your spouse every morning before they leave to get into the car to go because you don't like what they do for a living or whatnot, and blah,
That
blah, blah,
sounds
blah, blah.
horrible.
And you brought it all back up.
Yeah. Well, that almost sounds like you're just creating your own portal. The same way that we just discussed, you can collectively, our thoughts can collectively create a positive portal. Our thoughts can collectively create a negative portal too. So you can move in to a house where there was a lot of arguing or, you know, maybe negativity happening, and you move into that portal and then you keep feeding it. Or, I mean, it can actually affect you where you were not a negative argumentative person, right? And all of a sudden you become that when you move in.
It's very true. I would like to hear a question.
Okay. So I have another question from the Lumineers, and this question is from Kenny, and Kenny asks, "Are the pyramids built on these lines or near on a vortex?" And can I even go farther to what Kenny says? Are most of the Earth's big deals, like the Mayan ruins, Stonehenge, pyramids, I'm assuming they're probably all on ley lines.
Most all of them are on
Okay,
ley lines.
okay.
Like 93%.
Okay.
That is correct. So the Egyptian pyramids not only are built on a ley line, but they also are laid out to mimic the stars as well, an astral connection to the multidimensional beings that were helping with the
Construction?
Just call it construction. Yes. So
Do you
they're
want to
not
expand?
necessarily they're not necessarily on vortexes, Kenny. They mimic the stars. Do I want to expand on that?
On a ley line.
They're on a ley line,
Yes. Okay.
but the way that they're laid out around that ley line is to mimic the stars.
Got it. Okay, so Tracy asks, can you travel back and forth in time with ley lines? Are they like a dimension type of thing, or are they just purely energy? I don't even know how to put that all into words.
No, I like the concept of that though. I would say mostly with the ley lines that are earth created and humankind generated, like maintained. I wouldn't say that it's a time travel kind of experience. I would say, however, that vortexes give that option, that the earth chakras and the earth vortexes, the secondary chakras, are stronger at manipulating your linear time beliefs than anything else.
So the ley lines are
Straight.
going to contain the vortex in which we can cross over into other dimensions.
Yes, but
Okay.
there's vortexes that are not on ley lines that can help you cross into other dimensional.
Okay, but the probability of them being on a ley line is going to be higher.
Higher.
Okay.
Yes.
We were recently in a location.
We were at Akashic Ranch.
Yes. And ley lines, portals, vortexes.
All came together at the same place.
Yes. And it was quite phenomenal.
Yes.
And there was discussion about, I will use both Sasquatch and Yeti because there was some discussion about what that might have been coming out of a vortex and going up a hill. But that vortex was on a ley line.
Yes.
So Sasquatch or Yeti, which one was it?
I'm the same thing.
They're not.
They're not.
There's different kinds of Sasquatch, and I think that a Yeti is a particular kind of Sasquatch.
Yes. This was a Yeti.
Okay.
And those animals, those multi-dimensional beings, are not three-dimensional beings like you are.
Okay.
So they have access to different,
Although they appear that way in our vision.
when we see them.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. And there is more than just them.
I really have to step out of my comfort zone for this conversation. but I will, because I was there, and I you know.
What'd you see?
I can't deny it. I didn't see a Yeti. I'm just saying the people that did, I trust them.
What did they see?
They saw footprints that were 24 inches plus, that were 6 feet apart.
Wow.
A Yeti walking up a hill.
Jamie saw a UFO. And she got visited by one.
In her dream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wasn't a dream. That's the use right there
Mhm.
of a portal
Mm-hmm.
where they manipulate the space of the third dimensional plane so that they can come in,
Mm-hmm.
or whomever they are communicating to or with can come to them.
Mm.
So you might feel like you're still in your bed, but you're not in your bed at all.
That makes
Because they're
sense.
using a portal to kind of put you in their dimensional layer.
Mm-hmm.
So the bed to you might still exist, and you still might see the room and so forth, because you felt like you haven't left. But you, in essence, are in a different dimensional plane.
Which would be a great explanation of why dreams sometimes seem so real, is because we're actually being in a dragged down portal. I can't think of another way to phrase it. But you know, you hear
Dragged
stories.
entered into.
And I've experienced this myself, where you wake up from a dream and you are exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you had been running miles and, you know, traveling and all that, and you're exhausted, and you got a good night's sleep, in theory. Or you wake up from a dream and you have bruises, which has also happened, you know, and
Scratches.
And scratches.
This is fun because normally you tell me I have to be very organized, and
This is what Jesse's doing.
we get to talk all over the place.
So we are going to wrap this episode up, and we're going to come right back for part 2.
And we're still going to talk about portals and vortexes and ley lines and earth energy lines, because I'd like to clarify what an earth energy line is.
Yes, because we haven't gotten to
And
that.
then I also want to talk about how we can use all of these things to our benefit on earth.
Okay.
Bye, Lumineers. Remember, it's not woo-woo, it's true-true.
The lighter side with Jamie. The lighter side with Jamie. The lighter side.